Good to have you along, everyone. This is UWC on air. My name is Robin Adams. The University of the Western Cape has always been this melting pot of inspiring stories, and we want to showcase them. Coming up over the course of the next 30 minutes, rolling back the years, a reflective look on 6 decades of academic excellence. Strap yourselves in. We are launching Tour UWC. It'll take in all key landmarks on campus. We have 2 of the finest tour guides on hand to give us the lay of the land. Also ahead.
My name is Dr. Caroline Oudman. I am from the Faculty of Natural Sciences at the University of the Western Cape. And later in the program, I'm going to tell you about my cancer journey.
The University of the Western Cape is an institution with an incredibly rich history. Over the decades, it's seen not just hundreds of thousands of students and staff pass through its doors, but it's also transformed massively. Let's take you back to where it all began.
1960 was quite a year. John F. Kennedy won the US presidential election. The Sharpeville massacre made world headlines. Several African nations claimed independence from France. One of the biggest ever songs, Chubby Checker's The Twist, was released. 1960 also marked the birth of the University of the Western Cape. UWC, as it's popularly known these days, actually has its origins at a school premises in Bellville called Goeiehoop Primary. Since then, the university has grown into one of the leading teaching and learning research-led institutions, not just in the country but on the continent. UWC has consistently been ranked as one of Africa's top universities by Times Higher Education. The upliftment of communities has always been at the heart of all we do. The impact of our free law, medical and dental clinics on the people who rely on us for these services is evident. It's a win-win for the people who benefit from them and for our students who learn on the job. UWC has an incredibly rich history. So many people have contributed to making it the center of learning excellence it is today, including Jakes Gerwel, a name that will forever be linked to the institution. One of the university's most celebrated spaces, the main hall, was named after its former student, lecturer and rector. Now known as the Jakes Gerwel Main Hall, the venue is a full-circle representation of every graduate's time at the institution. It's the first place they encounter when they arrive for orientation, and also where they'll graduate and wave goodbye to campus life. Over the decades, academics, world leaders and students who've risen above their circumstances and excelled in their professions have all passed through UWC's doors. The university has also taken great strides towards making education accessible, affordable and inclusive. Innovation and advancement have also always been part of our DNA. Many more historic chapters in the story of the University of the Western Cape are yet to be written. Pretty exciting times for UWC, which now also becomes the first university in South Africa to have its own dedicated TV platform, UWC On Air.
You've seen the Red Bus tours around the major cities all across the world. Now, UWC has used this sightseeing experience to model its very own campus tours. Kadre Goliath has more.
We're embarking on this really exciting project called Visit UWC. It's about exploring the university, touring the university, learning more about the university. From way back in the 60s when the university started up until today, where the university has gone through a lot of transformation from a previously colored university to now an internationally research-led university. And we want people to come to the university to visit our nature reserve, to experiment and learn at our science building, where we also have the Great Wall, or now known as the Jakes Gerwel Hall. There's a lot of history, there's a lot to know about the university, and we're going to be taking people on a journey throughout the decades. We're targeting the alumni, UWC alumni, we're targeting international tourists, local tourists, students who are interested in studying at the university. How we also want to package this is we want people to learn about our arts faculty. So an arts tour, a nature reserve tour, a history tour will be provided where we get to learn more about the Senate building. So currently we are doing tours mainly for delegations. So when international delegation comes to visit the university, we get to show them the campus. And my colleague Hardy Zacharias, he normally does these tours. He takes the delegation to the old campus, takes them on a journey throughout the main campus, as well as our Belleville campus, the CHS building. And now I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Hardy Zacharias, who will tell you more about what happens on the tour.
The campus tour is quite enlightening and quite rich. I actually use this corridor to actually say to people, welcome down memory lane, because we've got beautiful historical archival pictures on the wall. And it's quite appropriate that we kept all of these pictures within the Senate building, because it is such an old historical building which happens to be a landmark. So the Huel Primary School is normally our first stop, where we normally take people there to where the university was actually really born out of and moved to the current premises where we are at. And every single landmark, including the nature reserve, including the education faculty building, the life sciences building, which is like really the jewel in the crown of campus, was all by our own design. And then of course there's the main gateway, as we call it, with the portal that leads into the quad, which is the heart of UWC. There's our statue that is situated in the quad as well. They say that if you have not been to that particular statue, you have not been to UWC, because it symbolizes a domestic worker and a son celebrating his graduation. And what normally happens as part of the tradition is that students with their mom and their dad, they stand in front of that statue, they take a picture, and then they go into the main hall, and then they actually graduate as UWC alumni. Then they walk out of the main portal, and then out of the main portal you actually see the symbol of the Alumni Association, which is a pyramid with a flame. So symbolically, we want that to be the last thing that you see before you leave UWC and go out into the world as alumni and make yourself, your family, and of course the university extremely proud. There's many great people that have come out of here, and we're continuing to produce the best type of caliber of student that you can find. And that, knowing where you come from and knowing the history and knowing the richness of what brought us to where we are is very, very important with regards to the fabrics of where we are, where we're going, and where we want to be. So that is something that we really live up to quite nicely.
So let me tell you about the wow factor. We're really excited to showcase the yellow frames on the campus. It will be placed on the nature reserve and in front of the Jakes Gerwel Hall. It will allow people to capture these moments along the journey, have this memorable setting in front of the Jakes Gerwel Hall and in front of the alumni frame.
Time for a quick break. When we return, we'll introduce you to the UWC Associate Professor who's fighting the bravest fight against cancer. There are millions of people around the world fighting one or other type of cancer. Here's the story of one UWC academic who's armed herself with optimism and positivity and is fighting the good fight. Dr. Carolina Odman wears many hats: wife, mother, colleague, friend. And there's one title which underpins her superhero status. She's fighting cancer with a smile.
It was like between Christmas and New Year I went in or something. Maybe it was just after New Year. 2018 January, I went in. I was just not well, and they took some more tests, and then they started to investigate because they said something's not right. I think I had a scan made or X-ray, and they saw there was they suspected maybe stones in the bile duct or something like that. And there was one doctor who, it was interesting. He was a very nice guy. He's a young surgeon. And he didn't want to, miss anything. He said maybe my his senior, should see me because he wanted to get like an opinion from the boss. And the boss called us in, and he just wanted to operate. He just wanted, we do this, we do that, go in, and he thought it was like gallstones. But there was no gallstones in the imagery. There was nothing there. And Kevin and I, we kept asking him questions, and he was very dismissive. He didn't want to have questions asked. And he had called us in, and when we walked out, the first thing we got was a big bill. And we were like, nah, I don't like this doctor.
Dr. Odman followed her gut. She sought another medical opinion.
So they went and they did a check. They sort of biopsied the head of the pancreas because it was swollen, but nobody was really worried about it. But they're like, let us check, and they did. So this was like, I saw them on Tuesday. I came in on the Thursday to have this biopsy done. The pathologist was there in the operating room, immediately identified that it was cancer. And so they kept me, and they scheduled the Whipple the following Monday, like boom, boom, boom. And as you know, with cancer, it's getting there early that makes a difference. And so so suddenly I went in that Thursday, and I didn't come out of hospital just over a month after. It was everything just like stopped. I went in the hospital thinking they were just going to biopsy something, and I came out like a month and a bit later.
Once an avid runner clocking 5 kilometers a day, Dr. Odman quickly had to settle into a new way of life. And she did so with a positive frame of mind. She was determined to make the most of her Groote hospital visits and, find the fun in them.
I think one day I was listening to a Michael Jackson track, and you know how he has these things in his live shows where he has wind blowing and he goes tsh, and the wind is blowing like that. So there was one place, there was this really big draft, right? It's drafty, it really is drafty. So I'd go there and I would go, and my hospital gown would go woof. And I was like, yeah. So I just made like fun and games of everything.
Dr. Odman credits her positive outlook on life to her rock, her best friend, her husband Kevin. He's been there every step of the way, diligently driving her to chemotherapy sessions, looking after their 2 sons, and still finding a way to balance it all with a full-time job. Dr. Odman would be the first to tell you that Kevin is the real superhero in the family. Chemo sessions take place on a Wednesday at Vincent Pallotti Hospital in Pinelands, and you're unlikely to see a bigger smile in the ward than that of Dr. Odman's. For her, it's exciting to catch up with nurses and other patients.
After seeing the doctor, you go into the chemo room, which has a lot of lazy boys, recliner chairs, and the chemo room where I'm going is amazing. It feels like a little lounge, like a family room, and the nurses, they come and they check, so you have to answer a few questions. They check how you're doing, and they put in a drip. Then you get whatever injection that you have, so they inject me with this antihistamine, which is great because it makes me sleep for most of the chemo. First they set up saline to make sure that the drip works well. Then they give you steroids, I think, to be able to cope better with the shock of the chemicals. And then they give you an anti-nausea medicine in IV, and once you have that, then you get the chemo. And so, I usually fall asleep. I tend to read a bit, but then I listen to the radio. I have my headphones, I listen to the radio and talk radio, and then I fall asleep. And when I come home, I just crash. I crash in bed, and I just usually keep sleeping most of the day, and I sleep the night as well. It's a bit of a shock to the system, but then I'm okay.
It's important for Dr. Odman to spend time at the office and interact with colleagues from the Natural Sciences faculty. She won't hesitate telling you that dressing up for the occasion doesn't just make her feel good, it puts an extra spring in her step. Their kindness frees up so much mind space, she says. There's no need to worry about anything.
Every good wish, every thought and prayer for all the, people saying that it doesn't help, well it does. Because every time it's like a hand that sort of lifts me up a little bit more and carries me along the way. And it's awesome.
Dr. Oddman's sons were 3 and 5 years old when she was first diagnosed with cancer. She and Kevin decided to play open cards with the kids from the start. They included the boys on the journey, something they agree was the right thing to do.
And the boys are amazing. They're just so brave and I'm really grateful that they're on the whole path, whole journey with us, that we haven't kept anything from them. Because nobody can just be shielded or protected from something like this. I'd rather accompany them along the journey while I'm around than hide everything, then be gone at some point, and they don't know all the stuff that, like if I'm gone, I'd rather they know that I gave them everything that I could and didn't hold anything back, that we did it together. I don't want to let them down. So I'm going to not let them down as much as I can, as long as I'm around.
So what's next for the Oddman family? Carolina says she'll keep fighting even as hospital stays become more frequent. She says her family makes her brave. Dr. Oddman has a message of hope for other cancer fighters and their loved ones.
I think this is a message that something that Kevin and I have talked about, and we've done. We've gone to the good places, we've gone to the tough places, and out of these tough conversations, something's come up that things will never be finished. Like whenever any of us hits the end of the road, we've never finished what we have to do here. The best we can do is be at peace. And I think that's really what this journey is about, trying to find peace. And if we find peace, then yeah, I guess we'll be okay. And life will go on.
Still ahead on UWC On Air, it is World Vegan Day and we catch up with a former carnivore who's traded beefsteaks for the plant-based version. November 1st marks World Vegan Day. There seems to be a school of thought that the lifestyle is expensive and restrictive. But veganism is about much more, as a former UW student, Dean Roberts explained to my colleague, Jessie Townsend.
Dean, you've gone vegan. You've been vegan for 3 years now. It's a bit of a personal journey for you. Tell us more about that.
So, around about 3 years ago, my dad was actually diagnosed with prostate cancer. So what it did for me was I just went on this research mission to kind of find out ways to kind of mitigate my own risks. Because as you know, many of those things are hereditary. And the more I did research, the more I looked into it, the more I kept stumbling upon plant-based lifestyles, veganism, and just the links between plant-based lifestyles and how it has amazing benefits in terms of helping with different types of cancers, but also being able to help protect you from those sort of cancers. Because there's always been these links between the red meat and certain cancers. So I wanted to explore it, try and understand it from there. The idea was never ever to go vegan. Funny enough, I think many people probably thought it was just like, okay, you went vegan and that was it. But I used to buy 3-4 times a week. So did I go vegan because I don't like meat? Definitely not. But I understood the health benefits just from the research that I did, and the more I looked into it, the more it made sense. As soon as I started on the journey, I mean, even from day one, I could feel the immediate benefits. And before I realized that by the end of the week, I lost about 4 kilograms. Now, it's important to note, veganism isn't a diet. But what it also means is that there were specific benefits to it straight off the bat that I could feel immediately. excuse the terrible non-vegan pun, but I went cold turkey, you know, and I don't think many people can, but I think the interesting thing is, and the important thing about going vegan is finding your why. If you can find your motivation, your personal reason for doing it, it's a lot easier to stay motivated.
Going vegan, most people think it's not sustainable. You've been vegan for 3 years. Is it true?
Even if I look at just the last 3 years, the amount of products that there are now that you can go into a Pick n Pay or a Spar. I even buy vegan margarine at the OK, the local OK. So if you start looking at the amount of product that's available, it becomes a lot easier to sustain that kind of lifestyle. It's all about the textures and the flavors at the end of the day. Yeah, I think it's just a mindset.
So you started your own brand, Plant Fueled Nutrition. How did that come about?
To be honest with you, Plant Fueled Nutrition was never supposed to be a business, funny enough. When I started my vegan journey, I started to realize, because like I mentioned, I've always been very active. I've always been training, I've been in the gym. And that was one of the things I didn't want to neglect, you know. I always wanted to keep going. And like I said, because I felt the immediate benefits once I went plant-based, I wanted to make sure that whatever else I was using within my training journey, that it was still vegan friendly. So some of the people we brought on board is like Clint Brink, his wife Steffi Brink. We signed Babal Walacha, who was the Springbok women's rugby captain. But not only that, we've had Tassie Brits, Sinalo Jafta, who represented the women's Proteas at the Cricket World Cup. We have Keenan Horn, who represented the SA hockey team at the Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, and all these high-level athletes that have come on board, understanding the benefits of plant-based nutrition. That looks great. And I've just gone with a breakfast, some scrambled eggs, some vegan bacon, some sausages. So,
My first vegan drumstick.
go for it.
Dean, thank you so much for educating us, talking about your journey, inspiring us, and also bringing me to my first vegan experience.
She-Bobo, the one-day soccer extravaganza that kicked off the country's first ever Junior Girls Football League. The under-8 and under-10 stars really were in a league of their own. The quality of football, just sensational. And it's actually hard to decide who enjoyed the tournament more, the girls or the parents who were cheering everyone on from the sidelines.
Look, for girl children under the age of 10 for junior girls, there's nothing like this that's happened ever before. We're giving girls the opportunity to play in a competitive football festival, but beyond this, it's a showcase to show the LFAs, to show sponsors and potential partners that it is possible, and to show other universities to see what we've done. We'd like them to take our blueprint and make this a national thing. We had massive success with Banyana, especially our university, the University of the Western Cape, with more than half of the team taking part in that triumphant AFCON, women's AFCON final. So it only makes sense for us then to invest in the girl child from a junior age, grow them through the ranks as the league grows, and have them study here. The best of both worlds, world-class higher education, world-class sports platforms, you know, and that's what we're about at the University of the Western Cape, connecting possibilities. As you can see around you now, we are connecting possibilities.
The University of the Western Cape Choir is a celebrated outfit. They are in high demand, the media commitments are plentiful, and they've got a pretty packed schedule until next year. They've delivered hundreds of memorable performances over the decades. But people are still talking about their visit to the V&A waterfront in Cape Town. And let me sketch the scene for you very quickly. The marimba band are there just like ordinary sightseeing folk. The world famous marimba band are busy entertaining the audiences. Suddenly the pair collaborate and are dazzling the people in the crowd. That is how we close out this particular edition of UWC On Air. Thank you so much for watching. Our contact details are on the bottom of your screen right now. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.